Hello everyone, it's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie here today with another mixed media process video. So before I dig too deep in, I always like to request or suggest that if these are the type of videos that you like to see, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification button so that you'll be notified when more videos like this come out. So as you can see, the first thing I do is take out what I think I might use, because a girl's probably going to change her mind. Well, I know there's some things I'm going to change my mind about, and I'm using my sketchbook, which is not really a true mixed media book, but it works for what I want to do. So I just kind of flipped through and kind of found the pages that I wanted to use, and I attempted to protect the pages behind it, but as you will see, they get a little messed up, but not too much. It really wasn't a deal breaker for me. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put down some gesso onto the page. And I put down a fair amount of gesso. And usually when you use gesso, it's going to leave some texture on your page. It'll make your pages like a nice canvas, which I really love. So I don't mind the texture at all, and I treated both pages this way. So you can see I am using quite a bit of that gesso, and you can also see why I protected the pages behind it, because today was just one of those days where I just really didn't care. I was going all over those edges, and it was one of those days. And so I probably used a lot more gesso than I needed to use, but the reason why is because I knew that I would be using tons of water in this project. Water is my friend in this project, and you're going to see why. The technique that I'm going to use, I absolutely love it. So the first thing I did was really saturated the pages with water, and that gesso protected the paper from really soaking up too much of the water, so the water would kind of sit on top. Then I used some acrylics, and I just used some Cheapo Depot Craft Smart acrylics from Michaels, and this is kind of a gold color that I'm using, and I probably used more paint than I needed to. And after I did that, I sprayed it a little bit more with water, and then I used some alcohol. And look at that. I just kind of spritzed a little bit of alcohol on it, and it kind of formed some cells, which I really love. And this is the technique that I was going for. Now, I tried this before in another video, and it didn't work out for me because the alcohol that I used wasn't really true alcohol. It was witch hazel. So I went out and bought some alcohol so that I could do this. Now next, I'm pouring some matte medium into a piece of a container that I ripped off of something. I'm all about recycling, and I watered it down because I didn't want it to kind of cover up what I'm using. I wanted it to just kind of protect the top, or be kind of a top coat of protection, because I'm going to put more paint on here. So what you're going to see is I kind of did this in layers. So I spritzed it with water, I put the acrylic on, I used the alcohol, and then I put matte medium over the top. And then I rinsed and I repeated. Now in between each layer, I actually hit it with the heat gun, which you don't see on camera because I kind of saved you from that boredom. I know, you can thank me later for that. So you can see here I spritzed the water in this layer, and then I went ahead and I put the paint down, and then I put the alcohol down, and then I dried it. And then once I dried it, then I went ahead and I put more matte medium over the top, and that kind of sealed this layer in. But look how it looks when you put the alcohol in on it. Those cells are they are so fantastic and fabulous. I'm definitely going to be using this technique again. So you can see here again, I'm taking some of the matte medium out of the jar, and I'm just spritzing a whole bunch of water on here because, again, I don't want it to kind of cloud the color. I just wanted to protect the page. So I want it to be a bit translucent. So I put some water down. Now, I think you could probably use maybe some Mod Podge to do this, but I think Mod Podge is kind of a heavier medium, even though it's translucent. And so I think that doing it this way was probably the best way to do it. And I love the way it's coming out. And you can see it looks like a lot, but once I dried it, you can see it was very clear. Now I'm spritzing again with water. I'm doing that rinse and repeating. And I actually use 3 layers of different colors. So I used the kind of a gold color, and then I used an orange color, and then I used kind of a teal color. So I'll have the exact colors below in the description if this is something that you would like to duplicate, because I definitely would suggest it. And again, I think I probably used a little bit too much paint because I really wanted things to show through, but in the end, I have to say, everything came out a-okay. And so again, I'm putting down some more of that alcohol, and it looks like I'm pouring the alcohol out, but really I'm not. I'm kind of tapping the bottle so that it would kind of come out. And you only need a little bit of alcohol to get this effect, and you can see everything behind it. Look at those cells that form. Just absolutely beautiful. And again, I went ahead and dried it, got some matte medium out, spritzed it with a whole bunch of water, mixed it up, and then I sealed this actual layer. And then this made the background for this particular layout. And I was quite impressed with myself, if I do say so myself. And I do. Because, you know, as a baby mixed media person, I think I get excited about every page that I do. I just think it's so wonderful. And I had a friend that asked me, well, what do you do with the pages after you get done? And I told him what everybody does. I just enjoy the pages. I look at them, I flip through the book, and I just enjoy the works of art. I don't think anybody else would enjoy it like I enjoy it. I'm pretty sure of that. So then I took out these stencils of these Buddha heads, which I really love. And I made these, and these are going to be up in the shop over at pleasantcreations.com. And I was kind of testing them out. I made them in different sizes. I did decide that I'm probably not going to make the small one anymore. It was quite labor intensive to make the tiny one. But the large one and the medium I'll be using, and I love the way the stencil itself came out once I used it. Now, my intention was to kind of use some texture paste on this, and I quickly forgot. I got in the moment and I started using some of the Tim Holtz distressed inks, which is fine because you'll see how this progresses. So I was kind of looking under to see how it came out, and it looked kind of like a shadow. And I liked that effect. I was like, wow, I love that shadow. I'm going to do like this whole thing in these shadows. And so I took the different size stencils, and I just took that distressed ink, and I believe it's the walnut stain that I was using. Yeah, nope, it's vintage photo. I actually had to look at it. So this is the vintage photo ink, and it's a dark ink, but if you don't use too much of it, it's going to look kind of light, and I like the effect that it had. Again, it had kind of like a shadow effect, and it almost looked like an aged, I would say, wallpaper. And I like the distressed kind of aged old world feel that this actually has. Now, I did use the little stencil that I had, and it was okay, but as far as, you know, production, making that little stencil, I decided against it. I think the bigger ones have a better effect anyway, and so I'll probably just make those instead. But as far as the way they turned out on the paper using the distress inks, I was all in. I love this effect where, you know, it's not so deep where it kind of just stands off of the page. And then but I did have to kind of think, what am I going to do for my focal points? Because the Buddha is really what I had intended to use. And I kind of wish I had like a lotus stencil, but I was too lazy to make one. I'll probably make one to go with the Buddha. But I still like the way it came out. and I was kind of flipping through the pages to see how much water ran through everything, which it did. But again, it didn't really mess up the other pages too much, so I was okay with that. So now I have a really nice background. Now I decided to take some textured paste out, and this textured paste actually has a gold tone to it. So it looks a bit muted at this point, but as it dries, it actually gets shinier. So it looks kind of muddy at first when you put it on. So if you buy some texture paste that looks like this, and this is from Heidi Swap actually, and it is just gold texture paste. It comes in a tube, and I've had it for a while, and I really wanted to kind of use the products that I have, because you know, your mixed media paints and texture paste and things like that, they'll last for a long time, but I don't think they're gonna last forever, and I really would like to get my money's worth. So I decided that I'm not saving anything when it comes to my junk journaling and my mixed media. I'm gonna use what I have, and if I run out, well, I'll use something else or I'll get something else. So we'll just see. Now I was a little bit disappointed in my second head here, because I kind of messed the nose up just a little bit, and you probably didn't notice that until I said something, but it wasn't a deal breaker. It was still okay, because as I always say, there's no way to mess something up when you have a mixed media project. Everything is just perfect, and I love the way it came out. So I took this Craft Smart paint pen, which is gold as well, and I went around the heads and I just wrote peace all the way around, and I like the effect that came out as well. Now I was shaking the pen kind of vigorously, and I ended up with some additional gold dots on the page, which was a happy mistake. I like the way that came out, and I attempted to duplicate that over on this page, but I couldn't get the paint to come out like I did before. I didn't get it. It came out so easily on the other side by mistake, and I just kept banging that pen and I couldn't get it to come out. So then I just started dabbing the pen on the page, and that was perfect. You know, you win some, you lose some when it comes to mixed media. So now I still felt like the page needed a little bit more. The page was speaking to me, and it was saying, I want more gold. I want more gold. Now, I started to pull out my white Uniball pen, but I decided against it. Since I was already all in with the gold, I decided to use my gold Uniball pen, and I just did like some squiggly lines, which you'll see at the end. I have some better shots of the page where you can see how I kind of did the gold dots around the edges of the page. And then what I did was I put like the definition of peace on both sides of the page. So this side, it says peace, freedom from disturbance, quiet, and tranquility. And then the other side, I put peace, freedom from the satiation of war or violence, because this page spoke peace to me, and I always love the Buddha heads. It's just something about them. It turns me on and it makes me feel at peace, and this whole layout was like that. The colors were peaceful, even though it has a lot going on. It's still, I just loved it. Now, I wanted the heads to stand out just a little more, so I kind of took my graphite pencil and I went through and I smudged things up just a little bit, which was fine, because again, I love the distressed look that the pages have. So I just kind of rubbed that in, and I wasn't worried about perfection or anything. I just wanted to just give it kind of like that dirty feel, you know what I'm saying, like a dirty page, but not really dirty, but grungy kind of look. And then I always like to go around the edges to kind of give the finished pages a frame, and I just used that vintage photo Tim Holtz distress ink to go around the edges, and I felt like it was like hard lines that went around there. So then I just took my blending tool and I just kind of rubbed around the edges as well. And that was much better for this layout because again, I just wanted to have like that nice, all pulled together kind of look. And then I decided to just kind of go over the whole page using that distressed look. And you would think that the ink would take over, but it really didn't. It just kind of gave it again a dark kind of old world feel, and I really love the way it turned out. I would love to know your thoughts on this page. I kind of felt like it didn't really have a focal point, but it did at the same time. But again, I love the way the Buddhas kind of have the shadowed faces in the background. So if this is something that you enjoy, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, and also don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button if these are the type of videos that you like. So with that, I'm going to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet lotus blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.